government of the Republic of South Sudan and accepted by the mediation. The Tumaini Consensus, Tumaini Initiative, Session 2 comes to an adjournment that were requested by the government of the Republic of South Sudan and accepted by the mediation. We requested for the adjournment because the members of delegation, beginning with the head of delegation, have responsibility to prepare the country for the coming in of the newly approved extension of the revitalized agreement on the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. And it's necessary that now Manyang, being the head of the National Transitional Committee, which is charged with the responsibility of completing the security sector arrangements, has to take over and start that process. But also the members, senior members of the delegation, beginning with Pot being the deputy chair of the National Transition High-Level Standing Committee, myself being Secretary General, Dr. Koul and Albino and others are members of the High-Level Standing Committee. They have the responsibility of going to prepare the institutions that are responsible for the implementation of the revitalized agreement in order for us to begin the new transition on 22nd of February this year. So it was important that we requested for that adjournment and bring together all the institutions responsible to give us the status report as to how we move forward and report to the presidency before 22nd. So that's the reason why we requested for adjournment. I want to thank the Tumaini mediation for accepting our request. That, of course, does not mean we have abandoned the Tumaini initiative. It's an important initiative, it is an important process, which we also focus on, and we will be looking at some of the challenges that we incurred in the last session in order for us to have a way forward, a logical, coherent process that does not lose the new points that might come of this process, but that does not jeopardize the revitalized agreement as well. Let me just share with you some of the key issues that were raised. You recall that the Tumaini protocols first were taken to South Sudan, to Juba, and handed to the presidency in June last year. And the presidency requested us to analyze them in order to see if they are all aligned to the revitalized agreement. And we found that there were 8 points of difference. Those 8 points, 4 of them were easy because there's just a copy and paste from the revitalized agreement. But we identified key areas in security arrangement and in governance. And in the security arrangement, it was the inclusion of a commission named Security Sector Reform and Oversight Commission, which commission undermines the function of the JDB, Joint Defense Force. They have added on the JDBS to reflect security in the belief that the security sector was not fully represented. That, of course, is not true because all the sections of our security, the army, the police, the prison, national security are included in JDB. In any case, that is not a key point. But the key point is, our objection is the creation of another structure, another institution that is independent from the Ministry of Defense, independent from national security, independent from the Ministry of Interior, and doing all the job that is being done now by the JDB. We felt that undermines the RR access and it could cause a lot of chaos in the country. So we objected to that. Also, in the governance, they created structures National Leadership Council that was supposed to give leadership to the country. And that, of course, sovereign institution of the Republic of South Sudan, which is the presidency, which objected to that. And they created another one called the National Implementation and Oversight Commission that is supposed to be a secretariat to the National Leadership Council. And we do not have much objection to that. We could work on it and see its function. Its function mainly is to manage money given by the government of South Sudan, the region, international community, or partners, and that we can discuss that. But then they created, again, under governance, the high-level panel. High-level panel to take all the leaders of the region to become the people who manage and oversee how South Sudan, how the Tumaini Initiative is implemented. And they only mentioned Tumaini Initiative solutions or protocols. And we felt that is not necessary because the revitalized agreement is a product of the region. It is a project of IGAD, African Union, international community, and they're all represented in RJMEC, in the Revitalized Joint Monitoring Evaluation Commission. So we felt that was also not necessary. So these are the major issues that we're wrangling with. Our instruction from the presidency and even IGAD, Ismail Weiss reacted very positively that our access cannot be tampered with. And so we are in commonality with IGAD and the region, and of course instructions from the leadership, from the presidency, is that the R-axis cannot be replaced. A new agreement cannot be created by merging Tumaini Initiative, but that the Tumaini contribution can be considered as an annex or a complement to the R-axis. That's important to mention. They have said that the Tumaini Initiative protocols have been initialed and agreed. That is incorrect, unfortunately, because the protocols brought in June were only initialed by our previous team. An initial document is to say this is a document, but is not agreed and is subject to amendment as well. Mediation sent another set of documents in August because we commented and we pointed out the issue of contradiction with the R-axis. And again, mediation looked at our comments, our response to the June protocols, and unfortunately, they did not do much. The comments we made, the contradictions, the repetitions, and the new structures remain the same. And so we also objected to those as well. So when they talk about protocols having been agreed, that's not correct. That is a misrepresentation of the truth, which the government of South Sudan delegation objected to. Then we proceeded on the beginning of this session with a new agenda. The agenda was agreed to be, we begin with discussing the relationship between the R-axis and the revitalized agreement on the regional conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. The reason being, we want to determine what is this Tumaini Initiative supposed to produce? Is it a replacement to the R-axis? Do they want to merge it so that we create a new agreement? Or is it an annex? And it was important to determine that because our position is that any agreement we reach with anybody, the backbone to it is the R-axis. Anything else that comes in will have its name as an annex, as a complement. Remember, the R-axis has maintained peace in our country for 6 years. People have been working and structures have been developed from the presidency to the cabinet, to the ministries, And all these institutions, to the governors, to the deputy governors, to the ministers of state, to the commissions, and then the commissions responsible for the implementation of the various important sections of the agreement. Now, and these institutions, of course, the judiciary and the parliament have also been done, and these institutions have already written their responsibilities and duties. There are laws establishing these institutions. There are policies and programs that are being implemented. Anything that disturbs these processes and the laws that are being generated in the parliament, in our view, will compromise the peace that we enjoy. Yes, we have challenges of implementation, but we are determined to ensure that the 24 months extension will address these challenges. And so we don't see any reason why the RRCs can be replaced or merged to become a new agreement. Now, in the agenda, suddenly another 2 sets of agenda points were included, and that is the identity of the negotiating parties. That a bit of a shock for us, because, and this came because we questioned, when we came in, we realized that the opposition and the whole up groups, which is the body we're negotiating with throughout, and the body that's included in the protocols of June and of August, and that is the body we're negotiating with, now calls itself United People's Alliance. Now, United People Alliance is a political military organization formed not only in Kenya, but in this hotel where negotiations are taking place. And so we questioned it, the mediation, and they didn't seem to seem disturbed. But we pushed on. For us, this is now a political military organization. That means, and not only that, they are promoting generals and divided South Sudan into 10 military zones, which means they intend to fight. Again, they came, the president, vice president, minister of defense, deputy secretary general, and ministers. So some of them even joke outside that we're negotiating with the government. That's okay. So you call yourself whatever, that's fine. But for the purpose of this negotiation, we are negotiating with the opposition and whole lot groups, nothing else. They turn around and say, well, we don't even recognize the Artigo. We don't recognize the RRCs. We said, okay, let's negotiate with their names. Let's pack it for now, because we want to proceed. We want to be positive. So we left that one there. But now again, when they come to negotiate, they always call themselves UPA. We ignore it. We kept on going. And then we came to the root causes, which has been spoken over and over again for nearly 5 years during the Addis Ababa negotiations, during Khartoum negotiations. We went to Sentijidi for 4 years, nothing happened. This time we said, no, give us a list. So we got a list, a summary of the list from the mediation, which was 11 points. We got 2 points from the opposition, just leadership failure, and leadership crisis, and then the second is the power struggle. We expected more, but having put this 2 what they call root causes gives you a lot to think about the political objectives of the opposition. The stakeholders gave us 6 points. They were more elaborate. They were more, if you like, more focused on areas which truly could be referred to as some root causes in delivery of service and reform and institutional reform. But in all, we found them all to be matters of institutional reform, which are there. They are contained in the text of the revitalized agreement on judicial conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. And they gave us this 19, and we actually, government, looked at them, so that some of them are similar. So we summarized them, and they have adopted it, that it is political, governance, leadership crisis, power struggle, economic crisis and resource management, structural and institutional weaknesses, security and militarization of the society, lack of society cohesion, and historical factors, and finally external and geopolitical influences. All these are issues to do with institutional reform, whether they are governance institution or the security institution, or whether they are foreign policies. And we have identified what can be done, the solution to them. We are ready to proceed with that. And so when we started then on this root causes, we actually reached to the point of forming a technical committee that would harmonize and work on the solutions that will be that are required, so that we see if they're in our access, then we leave them out. If they're not in our access, then we list them. If they're in the Tumaini, we also list them and then find solution to them, so that we can now form a protocol on root causes. But then we were called in, having the technical committee having met, we were called in with the mediation and the opposition, only to be told that the mediation has decided to issue a communique, and that communique was not subject to comment from both sides. And we felt that in the communique, there are things that are incorrect, things I've mentioned here now, because they would present us in a way that is a government that is being difficult to reach an agreement. We came here with honesty, and we felt that some of the issues need to be taken back to the presidency, and even request our leadership to ask the Republic of Kenya. This opposition and whole-out groups formed a political military organization here in Kenya. What's your view? The president has already raised that concern, because it's a serious matter that an organization that is formed during peace talk and in a country, a friendly country, and there is nothing mentioned, nobody's talked about it. We will request our leadership to have a response to request his colleague here in order to give us a way forward. They have proposed also something else, that they should be, they will prioritize. Instead of the matters that are discussed in the protocol, they want to give priority to 3 things: security reform, permanent constitutional making process, and holding a free, credible, transparent election. We said this process is already ongoing. We have the whole of the NTC dealing with security issues, and they're going on to phase 2. We have a whole commission for the National Constitutional Review Commission already progressing and doing its work. And then we also have a National Election Commission that is also doing its work, establish structures and moving forward. They are not necessary to be mentioned. They're also there in the articles of the R-Access. So we felt that this was unnecessary, but it appears to me that there's something we don't understand, and some people insist that this must be prioritized. So we want to tell the people of South Sudan and our leadership that we are focused to any process, but we're also cognizant of our duty to make sure that the process does not contradict, jeopardize, or even bring down their access, either by merging it or replacing it altogether. What would happen to all the parties that represent the 45 parties in 5 partnerships that represent the government of the Republic of South Sudan established? The country is established. The country is going through reform. Like any country new country, there are challenges that require establishment of laws and regulations, building capacity of people who run the system, and enforcing the rule of law, so that institutions can now become robust and able to deliver on the important responsibility for government. We feel that we're doing a good job. We're respecting the Tumaini process, but we also respect the direction of our leadership to make sure that both President Ruto and President Salva achieve the objective for which they established this initiative. There is reference to some communique issued on the 6th of November, and that the two presidents had agreed that the process go proceed with the protocols as initialed or as agreed in 2 weeks. That's incorrect. I don't want to go into details, but the way with which the communique was developed was rushed. None of us reviewed it, not even our minister in the office of the president. So one side drafted it and suddenly quickly announced. But the report by President Ruto of their discussion with the president was very clear that the government has concerns. Those concerns ought to be addressed, and that the process should start in 2 weeks, not end in 2 weeks. I was there present, others were press. And so the president was more clear than the communique itself. We want to clear these things in the air because there's a lot of propaganda out there that we are being difficult. We're not being difficult. We have a responsibility to deliver this country through elections. That's our responsibility. And we have only 24 months to go, and we are focused, determined to make sure that this process proceeds ahead. Thank you.